Hello, my beautiful friends and my fellow space blobs and sparkly blobs and sun blobs and earth blobs in whatever form you may be arriving here in this moment to share with me. We are about to get ourselves set up for a beautiful Libra season. And I am here today to do a little bit of justice to the Libra archetype because I really feel like Virgo and Libra both have been put to such a disservice when it comes to how they're described and the language that's used around them. And they're so disempowered in the pop astrology world. We really got to bring these archetypes back around into their full-fledged power because Libra is just essential. It brings up themes of justice and identity and vision and witnessing and being witness and the interconnectedness of the world that we live in and the interconnectedness of different versions of time. It is a powerful archetype, and when it's really activated in a way that feels empowering and beautiful and connected, it can be one of the greatest tools for living a meaningful, powerful life that feels like we're really here and we really belong to this world and to all the versions of ourselves. So today's goal is I just want to get us set up for a beautiful Libra season. I'm going to talk about the archetype a little bit. I'm going to talk about the big themes that I feel are coming through. We'll cover a couple of transits I think are interesting, and I'll end with a little intuitive reading. And the goal here is to just get cozy. So if you like to grab your journal, your tea, your art project, or go for a walk while we chat here, I am here for it. So get yourself all settled in. Let's have a beautiful moment together. I'm sure I have a few Librans in the house here or people who have a strong connection to Libra. It's my midheaven, so I do feel a natural affinity to Libran wisdom and perspective. But I think it's such a fascinating sign when it comes to the way it's talked about in the more pop astrology realm, because a lot of times you'll hear that it's diplomatic, but also two-faced, that it's people-pleasing and passive-aggressive, and that you really never know who you're talking to. Are you talking to the nice face in the front or the hidden, repressed longings underneath? Is it always about codependence and relationships and needing other people? It's very interesting to me, the language that starts to get used around Libra when it comes to our modern culture, when it's so much deeper than that. You know, Libra is tied to this image of justice. In tarot, justice is the Libra card. And justice goes back a long way. It's a very old concept, this idea of justice and the scales. And really at its core, it was about the redistribution of wealth and resources so that it took care of everybody, that there could not be hoarding, the scales could not be so out of balance that there was one group of people who had all of the resources and then a whole bunch of other people with none of the resources. Justice was always about that redistribution of energetics and the counterpart to hoarding energy. And we see that in storytelling throughout time for thousands of years. There's been this understanding that hoarding of resources and energy causes imbalance and causes social unrest. Libra is also the sign of connection, right? Because where Aries, its opposite sign, is all about I'm an individual. Libra is about the way we experience ourselves through the other and vice versa, and that we need the other actually in order to experience an I am. It's the counterpart that is so, so important. And with that, I think there's this idea that Libra is about codependence and like, oh, I just have to have relationships. A lot of times when people feel like they have like a Libran placement, they've been told that they just have relationship problems because they want to be connected, because it feels like relationships are just too important to them. And I find that really interesting too, because we are interdependent in this world. It's not just about romantic partnerships and marriages and boyfriends and girlfriends and whatever, two people getting together. It's about the interdependence of our life in this world. Like, we are not able to do things as isolated beings, even if we are people who like to do things on our own. I'm definitely somebody who loves to do things alone more than anything else in the world. And even I have an interdependence with the world around me, with the natural world, with literally breathing the air I breathe, with the sun coming up in the morning. it acknowledges that we cannot avoid that we are experiencing all the others around us, and that we're interlocked with them, that we are in interdependence with them. I think the final thing that's really fascinating for me about the Libran archetype is this idea that it's like two-faced. A lot of times you'll hear that about air signs, because air signs do represent duality. They represent that we can be two different things at once. But I would actually argue that Libra says that we hold multitudes within ourselves, and that what is important for cultivating peace, cultivating justice, cultivating a sense of harmony in the body and in our lives is not by trying to shut that off and make our life make sense and condense it all down into one nice tidy package, but it's about allowing ourselves to hold a multiplicity of selves. And in witnessing and recognizing that, it makes it easier to understand that others are also holding multiplicities. And that's really the true gift of Libran energy. It's not about just being superficial and diplomatic. And by the way, when we're talking about Libra, we're talking about this idea of diplomacy and peacemaking. I find that the least superficial thing I could think of doing in this life, and something that we really need more cultivation of in our culture. I find it fascinating how little of that discussion is incorporated into leadership on the larger scale in this world, because it seems too weak or too flowery, when in fact, cultivating peace is something that we each have to do in order to live a life that feels true to ourselves. All of us need those skills, right? And it's something that we have to cultivate within ourselves to live a life that doesn't feel like we're constantly at war with ourselves. And I think Libra also really acknowledges the need for developing those skills. I have some intuitive themes that I think will be really helpful to kind of play with as we move through this Libra season that I feel are really important coming through. And one of them is what we were just talking about, being able to hold a multitude of beings within ourselves, that we are not just a singular thing. And I think that's something that we're kind of taught in life, right? That you have a purpose, that you have an identity, that you'll discover what it is, that you'll uncover it, that you'll heal enough eventually to be this singular thing. That's why I love things like internal family systems that acknowledge, like, there's a lot going on in there. It's not about trying to get one unified whole. And I think actually one of the deeper lessons of Libra is that we hold so much. And when we stop fighting that, when we stop warring with the fact that we have many, many versions of ourselves inside, with many different viewpoints, with many different priorities and ways of expressing and visions, that allows us to actually shape our future much more clearly. It's when we're trying to pick the single one that's going to lead us, and we're trying to fight against certain aspects of ourselves that are not fitting in with the script right now, or aren't fitting in with what we think we need to be doing, that it can be hard to access our intuition. So one of the main themes for this Libra season is going to be allowing all of the versions of ourselves to exist. Just allowing space for that, feeling spaciousness for that, feeling a sense of peace develop when it comes to knowing that we hold so many different versions of ourselves. And some of them have completely oppositional views of what's important in life. And that is okay. There's always this pressure to make our lives make sense, to make things linear, to make things perfect. The next theme that we have here is about discernment and release. Libra season is deeply tied to this idea of sight, being able to see. And I mean, not just with the eyes, sight on a very deep level, a witnessing, a bearing witness to ourselves, to others, to the world, to just watching the world move by outside our window or on a walk. It's a deep witnessing energetic. And so one important theme that comes through for Libra season, and this Libra season is an eclipse season. It's a very powerful energetic doorway season. We are doing a lot of discerning and releasing about ingredients right now. This is a season for really acknowledging what is leaving, what has left, what we're no longer carrying with us. And one of the ways I actually love to do this, it's a bit mundane, but I find it very empowering. I'm a very creative person. I have crafts stashed in every corner of my space at all times. I could be working on 10 different projects. And there are certain projects that I will just keep holding on to, even though I don't really feel like sitting down and working on them. And sometimes for those projects that have been lingering, I just say, you know what, I'm going to let myself off the hook. I'm not going to keep forcing myself to do this project because I'm interested in all of these things over here. And that really is like one of those moments of like, oh, I feel so free. My energy is free now to pursue what I really want to be pursuing. It's okay to let go sometimes of projects that are not connecting. But this could also be about, where your energy is going, the schedule you have, the sight you have for who you think you need to be. This season, many of us are going to be saying, no, I can't do it anymore. Can't do it anymore. Can't pretend it anymore. It's just not happening. And that is a beautiful thing, my friends, because we're always so scared to let go. We always think if I let go, I'm going to do nothing else. The world is going to end. And then when we actually let go, we're like, wow, I wish I had done that 2 months ago, because now I just feel so clear about where I'm going next. This season's going to have a lot of that energy to it, this particular Libra season. So just work with it. You don't have to fight yourself on it. And that leads me to the next theme, which is something I've already touched on, but I want to bring it back here, which is practicing using peace on ourselves. Like really actively using peace on ourselves. Instead of waging war on ourselves and trying to force things through, this is a season where using peace on ourselves is going to be much more effective. It's going to be the way that we see what next steps to take. And it really will amplify our intuition. So anytime you're feeling like I can't get in touch with my intuition, I don't know what to do next, I'm feeling a little tossed and turned around with eclipse season and all of that, practice using peace on yourself. You deserve to live in peace. You deserve to have a peace-filled life, a creative life, an art-filled life. Use that peace on yourself in the smallest possible ways. It takes practice. None of us were taught to use peace on ourselves. Almost practically none of us. Most of us have not been taught to use peace on ourselves. This is a season to practice. Okay, the final theme is one of my favorite, which is timing. Timing. Oh, good old time and timing. One of the things that I love about Libra and its duality as the cardinal air sign is that it plays with time in a really interesting way. It's the Chronos and Kairos conversation. I feel that Libra is very tied to that conversation and that it can speak to both. Chronos being the linear time that our world's very into, our culture's very into, calendars, timelines, deadlines, goals, accomplishments, the whole thing, right? And then Kairos being that time outside of time, the divine time, the time that does not experience time the way that we do throughout a 24-hour day. Libra reminds us that both of those things are happening and we can experience life on both of those levels often. And it may even feel like we're not allowed to live both, but they're happening. With that, I think this season, with the eclipse work that we're working with some of the shift overs and doorways that we're walking through, because Libra season is just, this year is like major doorway energy, leaving one version of the world to go to another. This is really an important season that goes along with the using peace on ourselves. Don't try to rush projects to completion just to get them done, just to be like, okay, I did it. Rushing, forcing is not going to feel intuitive this season, I think. I mean, it never really does, let's be honest. Like rush and force, does that ever really feel good? I mean, maybe sometimes if you're on a high and you're having like one of those moments, but a lot of times it feels like we're trying to just like make something happen that doesn't want to coalesce, you know? And I think it's just a good reminder this season that stepping softly, stepping gently is going to be the way. Like it will bring deeper results. And starting off our Libra season with that intention for the next 4 weeks, through the rest of eclipse season, through the rest of this Libran energetic, I think it's a really good like standard to set for ourselves. It doesn't mean we're not doing anything. It doesn't mean we're just going to sit here and like fall over. It just means like we can step softly and steadily. One of the final lessons that I want to talk about here with Libra is that Libra is about steady, slow progress, not letting life freeze us, but also not feeling that we have to push. As the sign of balance and harmony, it's always going to lead us back to one small step is everything. Everything. And that each of those small steps is more powerful, has more of a footfall than any forced smashing through a wall ever will have. And I think that is such a simple thing. You know, we hear it all the time, but like the profundity of it is quite powerful. I want to briefly touch on just a couple of transits that are moving through this Libra season and forming all of this energy I've been talking about on a broader scale. So, of course, we start every Libra season on the equinox. And that is such a doorway energetic. And I feel like Libra in general, it tips us into the second half of the zodiac that is about this deeper expression of ourselves and connecting it to the world at large. And it's also, if you're, you know, whatever hemisphere you're in, we're tipping into the other light part of the year, whether that's the darker or the lighter half of the year. It's a doorway. So what needs to go, what needs to come in? This season's really that kind of reevaluation and rebalancing of our priorities. We're going to be feeling that. There's going to be some skin shedding. I think there's a transformational quality to that Libran energetic. We're going to be feeling that really strongly. We also have our second eclipse during this eclipse season that is happening in Libra. It's the solar eclipse in Libra. It's going to be conjunct Lilith and Mercury. And that is going to be a really powerful solar eclipse. I will be back to talk about that properly together with you all. But we're reworking our energy map, essentially. We're reworking our relationship to expectations, demands, roles we're playing, and we are just completely changing and shifting energy around for the next 6-month cycle during that eclipse and just during this Libra season in general. It's going to be really, really powerful. We also have Jupiter retrograde happening starting on October 9th. That's going till February of next year. And so over the next 4 months, it's a very flexible retrograde. Jupiter in Gemini is already extremely flexible. This retrograde is going to be opening up our minds about who we are, about who we need to be, about what we need to do, about what we need to accomplish. It's also probably going to bring in some surprises and some redirect about where we really need to put our energy, and really thinking about where we're leaking energy on a whole bunch of projects that we don't really care about, and really refocusing on what is bringing us life and playfulness. I will come back around to that topic though, I think very soon, because that's a really fun one to explore. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. We also have Pluto stationing direct on October 11th this Libra season. And that retrograde started back in May when Pluto was still in Aquarius. Pluto moved back into Capricorn on September 1st, and now we're having this direct motion. And pretty soon here in November, Pluto's going to leave Capricorn for good. So as we're stationing direct here, one of the things that I think is really powerful about stationing days with these outer planets is to think more broadly over the last few years, or even over the last couple of years. What do you notice is different about your foundation now versus earlier this year even? What do you notice about your root system, about your value system, about what you're really focusing on? Has it changed? Can you acknowledge any changes that have come about because of that? It's a really great time to check in with your foundation, your inner parenting, how you treat yourself. It's a really good one. Also quite subtle, I would say. It's working in the background of all this other energetic reflection. And in the long range, we're working with Pluto very slowly. So we never have to do all our Pluto work on one day. And we are kind of closing out Libra season, quite close to the end of Libra season, with the Aries full moon on October 17th. That closes out our eclipse energetics. It's also just a few days before the end of Libra season. And this full moon is squaring. Oh, it's conjunct Chiron and it's squaring Mars in Cancer. And so this is quite the full moon, because that is a conversation with these cardinal energies. And for me, this is about where we're using our vital life force. Where is it working? Where is it just feeling like we are draining our batteries over and over again? We're going to talk a lot more about that. And that closes out a lot of our work in Libra. It's a really big energy reworking season. Like I've said, I think a few times at this point, we're reworking our energy map. We're releasing a lot of old energetics. We're making space for new energetics. We're feeling a lot. It could be quite physical, and you might need some rest in between all of this reworking. And it won't be like on the surface, it's not going to be in your mundane life. This is stuff that's going on behind the scenes. I think that's important to remember in this conversation. Let's see what messages want to come through our intuitive guidance. We have the Seven of Wands, our good friend, the Seven of Wands. I find this card fascinating because it is a question of how we're using our vital life force and where it's feeling connected and where it's feeling very, very tiring. Like we are fighting a battle and we're using up all our resources to keep it going, to keep the spark alive. Two of Swords. This card's been kind of coming out. I feel like we had that in a conversation not too long ago. I can't remember when. But it's very Libran to have the Two of Swords. In fact, sometimes you'll find like posters and renditions of the Justice card with the image of the Two of Swords on it. So it's very connected to the Libran sight. Internal sight, where we sit still, we allow multitudes, and then we move, then we take action rather than forcing sight through. And Eight of Pentacles. All right, so this is fascinating for me. It's like a whole little mini journey in these cards today, because we start with Seven of Wands, a very active card, fighting our way through life, making things happen, getting it done. On the one hand, this is very great. This can be about forging forward and trying stuff and feeling that essence of aliveness when it comes to creating things we really want to create. But it's also sometimes a card that denotes we're using a lot of energy trying to hold our position in competition and the way we view ourselves, and that we might be wearing ourselves out. So this is a great moment to just check in. How are you feeling about everything you're working on? Do you feel like you're constantly having to defend it? And are you using a lot of energy trying to keep it going? How does it feel in your body? Is it working for you? And then we're asked to sit still. The Two of Swords for me is a card that says, trying to run around and check off all the boxes is not going to work if you want to get in touch with your intuition. What we'll need to do in this moment is sit still, hold our different perspectives, take our eyes off of all the obvious external things going on, and listen and witness. This figure is in front of a lake. She's in front of a moon in the sky, all these intuitive, visionary things. Her eyes are blindfolded so that she can focus on that internal knowing, so she can sit still long enough to bear witness. And that is really, for me, the core of Libra season. And then intentional movement forward. Eight of Pentacles is particularly fantastic for me because it's that slow and steady progress. It's building skills via small steps, each little chip away with the hammer and each little moment of practice. So we start with using all our vital energy, trying to keep everything going. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And we end with steady, intentional movement forward. And I think that's the conversation we're going to go through many times this Libra season. And it's part of how we're differentiating what's really bringing us to life and what is draining our energy, what is feeling like it's slowly building into a beautiful blossom, and what is just feeling like it is burning us. It's like incinerating us every time we try to connect with it. It's a really, really powerful Libra season. And like I said, Libra gets like underrated. Like I think people just like think you're going to skim across it because it's like the season of diplomacy and like cute relationships. And then, you find out that it's actually like about your interdependence with the world and with time and with your intuition, and that you're going to have to grapple with what really matters to you. Just all of these deep, deep themes. And I am going to be leading us through some really, really powerful exercises during this Libra season. Also, We are beginning our journey through the minor arcana on September 27th on my Patreon. We are going through all 4 suits of the minor arcana, and this is about really engaging with the wild rhythms of our lives. And the fact that we have seasons of expansion, contraction, we have seasons where we expend all of our energy and we think we have to prove something to the world, and then we have seasons where we feel like we want to disconnect from the world. It's about really reclaiming our intuition and how we work with these seasons, getting to know our unique bodies, our unique energy systems, recognizing ourselves in each of these images, and then understanding how to connect with those modalities in our lived life, our lived experience, so that we feel like we're supporting ourselves a little bit more. So I'd love to see you there for that. That starts on September 27th. It's 12 weeks. A new episode will come out every Friday, and it's available to both of my paid tiers, the Magic Seekers and the Magic Makers. And I would love to see you there. I love it when you're here. As always, this is just my favorite space to explore and see what comes up. I'm really curious about this Libra season. Like, I just know, I'm feeling it. I'm like, this is going to be a wild season, and I could just tell like a lot is going to change and shift. So I'm curious if you had a phrase, if you had a word, if you had a feeling about what this Libra season means to you, or what the archetype of Libra means to you, what would it be? If you've sat here all the way to the end of this chat, I am so happy about that. And I want to hear like, yeah, what do you associate with the sign? What are you feeling about this season? I'd love to know. I will see you right back here so very soon. We've got that solar eclipse coming up right around the corner, and we've got to come back here and have a proper conversation about it. So I will see you very soon.